Hey guys, this is Miss Mo. We are number 23 of the test review, and it says rewrite as a numeral. That means a number. Okay, so first it says 3,000. Okay, well, let's figure out where the 1,000 is. If this is the decimal, 1,000 spot is 4 to the left of the decimal, and it says I'm supposed to have a 3 in there. Okay, 3. Yep. And it's in the thousandth spot. Then and means the decimal. Then it says 2,100 thousandths. Okay, so we need to figure out how many spots after the decimal. Well, the first spot after the decimal is the 10th. Then the 100th or hundredths. Then I think it's thousandths. Then 10 thousandths. Then 100 thousandths. Yeah. Okay. So earlier we said we had 3,000. So we put the number 3 in the thousand spot. Then we have 2,100. How do we write 2,100? 2100. That's 2,100ths. And it's in the 100,000ths. Okay. Well, my bad, not 2,100ths. I need to look at just the numbers. My bad. Just 21. Yeah, so let's just look at 21. I got confused. And have that 21 in the 100,000th spot. So let's look at that 100,000th spot. It's right here. This is the 100,000 spot. Oh, I wrote it on the wrong spot. 100,000 spot. Okay, and we're supposed to have a 21 over here. And that 21 is supposed to land on the 100,000ths. So the 1 is supposed to be in the 100,000ths. The 2 right before it. So that way this reached 21 in the 100,000ths, okay? And then there's no other numbers that they told us about, so we just have a bunch of zeros. Or D. Okay, let's do another one. It says write the terminating decimal in common fraction notation. Okay, so first you look for the numbers. Don't look at the zeros. I see a 3. So I'm gonna put a 3 over. What spot does that 3 land in? Is that 3 in the 10 spot or the 100th spot? And the answer is it's in the 100th. I think I spelled that wrong. I don't care. 100th spot. So I'm going to take that 3 and put it on top of 100. Get it? If we would have had 0.003, that 3 is in the 1,000 spot. So I would do 3 over 1,000. Yeah. So whatever spot that number lands in, that's what you put on the bottom of your fraction. So for us, we landed that 3 in the 100th. So 100 goes on the bottom, 3's on the top, B. Okay, let's look at 25. Where does it land? What's the last digit on the right? It's a 9. And where is that 9 at? It's in the hundredths again. So we're going to put this whole number, 159, not the zeros, and there's no zeros on this one, so all the numbers, 159, and then we put it on top of hundredths, and 100 is 100. Okay, so B, woohoo. Okay, let's look at the next sucker. It says rewrite as a terminating decimal. Okay, there's 2 ways you can do this. You either can throw it in your calculator and say 7 divided by 8. Or you can actually do it yourself. Nope, backwards. 8 goes into 7. Okay, so 8 cannot go into 7, so I put a 0. Darn. Okay, then I need to keep going, so I put a decimal, and let's tack on another 0 and see what happens. Okay, 8 can go into 70 8 times to make 64, and we subtract down, and oh, we have a 6 left over. Okay, well, I kind of need to figure out, I can't quite jump to my answer yet. I have to do one more step. Okay, so I need to put another number underneath this house. What can I put? I can fill it in with zeros and bring it down. Now 8 goes into 60, that was dumb, 7. I mean, yeah, 7. And 7 times 8 is 56, so you write that underneath, and then you subtract down. And we just needed that one extra step to see that it's 0.87. So, yeah. Or you could have just put 7 divided by 8 in your calculator. Okay, let's keep going. It says, order the decimals from least to greatest. Okay, what I like to do for this is I like to write them up and down, where we line up the decimals up and down. Like 0.08, 0.02, 0.028, 0.082. Okay, then I like to tack on zeros to make everything the same length. So I'm going to tack on some zeros. And then now ask yourself, just looking at these right two numbers, which one is the biggest? 80, 20, 28, or 82? And 82 is the biggest. Okay, which one is the smallest out of all these? 20. Yeah, okay, so we're supposed to have the 82 first. Oh wait, it says least to greatest. So our smallest is that 20. Next to smallest is 28, then 80, then 82. So we need to look for this order. The only thing is there's going to be zeros in front of them. So we need to look for 0.020, 0.028, 0.080, 0.082. Okay, let's see. 0.02 is the first one. Not that one. Not that one. B's wrong because they say the second highest is 0.08. Yeah, so B's out, so it's got to be the D. Yes. So again, line them all up using your decimals, and then make them the same length by tacking on some zeros. Then ignore that column of decimals and zeros and just look at the right two numbers. We'll do that again in a minute. Okay, let's look at 28. It says a pharmacist mixed 2.65 grams of one drug with 4.718 grams of another drug. What was the weight of a mixture? Okay, so he got some pills from one bottle. Yeah, there's some pills in there. Then he got some pills from another bottle. And it wants to know, what is the total weight of both drugs? Okay, well, the first drug was 2.65. The second drug was 4.718. And then if we write those down by hand, we like to put the longer decimal on top and then the shorter decimal underneath it, and make sure you line them up and down. Like, keep the decimals lined up, kind of like what we did earlier. Okay, now let's add. Well, darn. On the very end, next to this 0.65, there's not a third number, so let me put a 0. Okay, let's see. 8 plus 0, 8. 1 plus 5, 6. 7 plus 6, 13. Carry the 1. So maybe 7.368. Yay! B. The important thing to remember on this one is to line up those decimals. If you're not, you might have accidentally added the 5 and the 8 to get like a 13. All right, let's look at 29. Jake has a cable that's 59.4 feet long. Okay, so we got this cable. He wants to cut it with like scissors into pieces that are 5.4 long. How many 5.4 pieces will he get from the cable? So this whole thing is 59.4, and each little piece is going to be 5.4, and we have to figure out, well, how many 5.4s are there going to be? And the answer is to use division. So we're going to take this big old 59.4, and we're going to divide it by that 5.4. And you can either put that in your calculator, or you can do it by hand. If we do it by hand, remember, we have to make this 5.4 become a whole number. So we have to move the decimal once to the right there and once to the right underneath. So our decimal is now after that 4. Okay, let's see here. How many times can 54 go into 59? Once. Subtract down. Okay, how many times can 54 go into 54? Once. Subtract down. 1 times 54 is 54. Subtract down. 0. Okay, so the question was, how many pieces did he cut it into? He cut it into 11 pieces. So the part that you're going to forget on that one is maybe the whole moving the decimal thing. You have to do it inside and outside. All right, let's look at number 30. It says rewrite the number or expression as requested. And then it says rewrite as a standard numeral. That means no exponents. Okay, well, on this sucker, we have a positive 4. So that means we're going to move the decimal to the right 4 times. So because we have a positive exponent, we're moving to the right. So right now we have 5.919, but we're going to move to the right 4 spots. So let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4 means I have to put a 0 on it. So we should have 59190 or C. Okay, well, what does that mean for number 31? It means the opposite. Since we have a negative 4, then we're going to move left 4 spots. So we have 7.64. But since we have a negative exponent, we're going to take that decimal and move it left 4 spots. And when I move it left 4 spots, I have to throw some zeros in. 3 of them to be exact. So our answer is C. Okay, let's keep going. Next sucker, it says, order them from least to greatest. I think it's what it says. Okay, so first we're going to line them up. 0.6 repeating. That means we're going to have 0.6. Yeah, okay. The next one says 0.61 with repeating. The third one says 0.6, but only the 1 repeats. So 1, 1, 1. The last one says 0.616. Okay. this is where we're going to ignore that column of zeros and decimals. And let's look at these numbers that are 3 long. Okay, that 616 is exactly the same as what was written, so you should not have a problem with that one. The 0.611111, you're probably wondering, where did all those extra ones come from? From the one with the little bar on top. Before that, we had 0.61, and the 61 repeated. Before that, we just had 0.6, but the 6 repeats. Okay, so which one's the smallest? The smallest is whatever this one was. And let's remember, let me just write it a little bit differently. Okay, so this 0.6 repeating became the 0.6666. The 0.61 repeating became the 6161. The 0.61 repeating became 0.61111. And the last sucker, 0.616 with a repeating, just the 6 repeats. Okay. I think we actually, if you look at these block of numbers that are 3 long, we have 666, 616, 611, and 616 again. So I think we need to actually look at the numbers that are 4 blocks long. Yeah. So we're going to look at all this. The only thing is that 0.666, we need an extra number. What can I put out there? Not 0, because it repeats. I can put another 6. Okay, so looking at all 3 of these numbers, which one's the lowest? The lowest is the 0.611111. And that's with the one that repeats. The highest is that 6666666 from the beginning with the 6 that repeats. Okay, so 0.61 is supposed to be the lowest with the 1 repeating. Let's check. A's out, B's out, D's out, because we're only supposed to have the 1 repeating. And we said that the very highest one at the end of our list is going to be 0.6. Hey, so C. Woo! So that one was kind of tricky, because that 0.6 technically has a ton of extra 6s. That 0.61 technically has a ton of extra 6161s, and so forth. Okay, let's look at 33. It says write the fraction in decimal notation. Okay, so that means divide. So in your calculator, you can say 27 divided by 11. Or when we actually teach the children, we say, okay, kids, how many times? I did it backwards. Dang it, I did it backwards again. Okay. No, I did it correct. What am I doing? Okay, my bad. I did it correct. Woof, okay. We asked the kids, hey, how many times can 11 go into 27? Twice. To make 22, we subtract down, and we have to bring down a 0. So now 11 can go into 50 4 times to make 44. And then we subtract down. And I can't stop yet because all these answer choices have 2.4 on it. All right, let's keep going. I brought down a 6. Now let's bring down a 0. 11 goes into 65 times to make 55. Okay, and you might think, okay, well, the answer choices are there. 2.45, 2.45, 2.45. Well, the difference is between where the bar is, the repeating bar. So we need to figure out what repeats, okay? Bring down another 0. 11 goes into 50 4 times to make 44. Then we subtract down, bring down another 0. 11 goes into 65 times to make 55. Okay, I think you get the point. So the question is, what repeats? And you see we have a 45 block and then another 45 block. That means this is the same thing as just 2.45 with the repeat bar over both the 4 and the 5 because they're both repeating. So we get A. All right, let's keep going. Number 34. Number 34, it says convert the repeating decimal to a fraction. Okay, this is kind of awkward. I remember the first time I saw it, I thought my teacher was just making stuff up. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to call this number the letter X. Okay, X. As in, we're going to say X equals 0.81 repeating. Okay. This is not 81 over 100. If you're thinking that that's what the fraction is, it's not. 81 over 100 is literally, you will see 0.81. But this is 81 repeating. So 81 divided by 100 is 0.81, but this repeats, so we have to do something extra. Okay, the extra is first you count how many digits are to the right of the decimal. 2 spots. Okay, so now what you're gonna do is you're gonna multiply what? You're going to multiply both sides by 10 to the 2. So that X equals 0.81 repeating, we're going to multiply it with 10 to the 2. 10 to the 2. And it's always 10. The only thing that changes is the exponent. If this 81 would have been 3 spots behind the decimal, I would have said times 10 to the 3. If this 81 was 4 spots behind the decimal, I would say times 10 to the 4. Okay, well, let's see. 10 squared, what is 10 squared? It's 100. So this is 100x equals, when I take this and I multiply it by 10 squared, something amazing happens. The decimal moves, and it moves like the decimal did on number 30. You remember on number 30 when we have a positive exponent, your decimal moves to the right. Same thing here. We have a positive exponent, this number 2. So my decimal is going to move twice to the right. Okay. So the question is, what the heck do we write down? Well, let's think about this. 0.81 repeat is actually 0.81 81, you get what I'm saying? So the 81 is going to repeat itself because of that bar. Okay, so I just wrote it twice. Okay, now when I multiply it by 10 to the 2, my decimal has to move twice to the right. So it becomes 81.81 with a repeat. So what we did is we said that 81 with the bar on it, that really means a couple of 81s beside themselves. And when I move the decimal over to the right, I get 81.81 with a repeat. So let me write that down. 81.81 with a repeat. Okay, now what you're going to do is you're gonna minus those. And this is kind of weird because we're gonna actually subtract the whole equations together. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put the big guy minus the small guy. So we're gonna say 100x, that's the equation with the big numbers. And then we're gonna subtract, here's my subtraction bar, the very first equation that we started with, x equals 0.81 repeat. And I know this seems like witchcraft, but this is actually legit how you do it. Okay, so let's subtract these. Let's see, 100x minus a pretend 1x, that's 99x. And then let's see here, 81 minus 0 is 81. But what happens to the decimal part that repeats? They cancel out when we subtract. So this is kind of weird. We're subtracting two equations. And when we do, the 0.81, the repeat, cancels out. Okay, now we're going to get x by itself. This x is multiplying by 99, so the opposite of multiply is divide. So we divide and we get x equals 81 over 99. And I think you can divide by 9. And it reduces to 9 over 11. And heck fire, that's the fraction that represents 0.81 repeating. And if you want to check yourself, then let's check ourselves. We said 9 divided by 11. Hey, 0.81, 81, 81, yeah. Woohoo! Or another way you could try and do it is just divide these answer choices to see which one pops up to be 0.81 repeat. Let's try that here. Let's use our answer choices and go backwards. So, this is just a different way to do it. But if you want to, for this part A, try putting 13 divided by 37. You can't put the 1 in the calculator with the 13 and the 37. It doesn't quite work the same way. So try 13 divided by 37 and see if it gives you 0.36 repeating. I get 0.351 repeating. Well, that's not what I wanted, okay? So next sucker, 4 divided by 11. Oh, I get 0.36 repeating. And that's what we were looking for. And there's a big fat 1 in front, but that comes from, if you're looking at the answer choice, there's a big fat 1 in front of that 4 over 11. So the answer is B. And the way we found that was we put the fraction portion in the calculator to see if that repeating portion popped up. And it did. Okay, let's see number 36. It says rewrite the following as indicated, write as a percent, okay? Well, we can either divide this in our calculator or divide it by hand. We say 15 goes into 14. Either way, when we divide these, we get 0.93333333, something like this. Yeah, like this, okay? But it says write it as a percent. To make it a percent, you move the decimal twice to the right. And it's always twice when you're talking about moving the decimal for the percent. Okay, so this makes twice to the right 0.93, nope, 93.33 repeating. Okay, so let's see. Which answer choice is that? It's not D, because it's missing the 0.33. It's not B, because that says 94. It's not A, because the decimals aren't moved enough. So it must be C. And that makes sense, because 0.3333, that should be 1/3. All right, let's look at 27. It says write it as a percent. Well, that's what we just did. You moved the decimal twice to the right. So 44.4%, or C. Okay, let's look at 38. It says write the following as indicated. First, it has this percent, which worries me. Okay, so why don't we write this fraction as a decimal? Okay, so 8 1/4% is 8 point something percent. So let's see here. How do we figure out what that 1/4 is? Well, we divide. 1 divided by 4. Yeah. 4 can't go into 1. 4 can go into 10. Twice. But then we subtract down, bring down another 0. Okay, 0.25. Or we could have put that in the calculator. So 8 1/4% is 8.25%. That 0.25 came from the 1/4. Okay, now we want to write it as a decimal. Well, it's like we're going backwards of what we just did. So what we just did, we started with a fraction or decimal, and we turned it into a percent. And we moved the decimal twice to the right. Now we're going backwards, so I need the decimal to go twice to the left. So we get 0.0825, or C. Woohoo! Okay, so on 36, we went from a fraction to a percent. And you had to move the decimal twice to the right. On part 37, we went from a decimal to a percent, and we still moved twice right. 38, we went backwards. We went from a decimal, we went backwards from a percent to a decimal. So that's why we went twice to the right, because it's backwards of what we just did. Okay, the last sucker says, after receiving a discount of 12.5% on the bulk order